The players look around the table. The next roll will determine if they live or die. The dragon will attack. The party will die unless the monk can hit with their attack. 1d20, one chance, one opportunity.
Welcome to GMspiration, your one-track level to the finest inspiration this GM has to offer.
Today's episode of GMspiration is brought to you by a Jew's D10,000 dice. Want to spend your entire gaming life without rolling a specific number? Wish a Dew to repeat numbers with a Jew's D10,000. Magnifying glass for at least time 1000 required to read the numbers. A Dew cannot be held responsible for any critical failures you might receive while rolling our dice. Most role-playing games use dice. It's so common that we often say things like, I've been playing Death Dagger Horde D100 game. If you're new to dice role-playing games, dice are often shorthanded by a D for the dice and the number of sides. So D4 has 4 sides, D10 has 10, and so on. D100s are rolled by 2 D10s, with one acting as the 10s and one the 1s. To quickly name a few different types of dice games, of course without endorsement, D100 games include Call of Cthulhu, Alien RPG, and Warhammer Fantasy. D20 games include Dungeons & Dragons, Shadowdark, Pathfinder, and Morkborg. Cyberpunk Red uses D10s and D6s, and D6 games include Generic Universal Role-Playing System, or GURPS, Blades in the Dark, Traveller, and Shadowrun. So why does all this matter? Does it matter at all? Well, when you are designing monsters and encounters, it can be useful to understand what the numbers mean and what impact they will have on chances of something succeeding or failing. First thing I want to raise is the concept of flat distribution or curve distribution. I'm going to use some screenshots from website AnyDice, link in the doobly-doo below. Basically, if you roll one dice, you have an equal chance to roll any number. The chance is flat. It's the same across all numbers. If you roll multiple dice and add them together, the chance is distributed as a curve, with it more likely to be towards the average. For example, if you roll 5d4, so that's 5 four-sided dice, and add them together, you can get between 5 and 20. To get 5, you'll need to roll 5 1s. To get a 20, you'll need to roll 5 4s. This is very unlikely, with the most likely result either being a 12 or a 13. In fact, you have a 56% chance to roll 11, 12, 13, or 14. So calculating flat distributions is pretty easy. Each dice roll equals a percentage, and you can add those up to get the total percentage likelihood. For example, a d20 has 20 sides, so each side has a 5% chance because 20 times 5 equals 100. On a d10, each side has 10% chance, and each side of a d4 has 25% chance. Dice that have numbers that do not fit neatly into 100 are a bit harder. Each side of a d6 has a 16.67% chance, a d12 has 8.33, and a d8 has 12.5%. Oh, and of course each number on a d100 has 1% chance. So let's provide an example. If you need to roll a 6, 7, or 8 on a d8, to work out the percentage, you can add up 12.5% for each number you can get. So 12.5 for 6, 12.5 for 7, and 12.5 for 8, for a total of 37.5%. That is a bit over 1 out of every 3 attempts succeeding. To repeat myself, work out the percentage for each number that is a success and add those together for the total. Curve distribution is a bit harder. To stick to D&D, a greatsword rolls 2d6 and a great axe rolls 1d12. A greatsword attack is more likely to roll 5 to 9, with a 7 the most likely at 17%. A great axe has an equal chance to roll any number between 1 and 12. It's a flat distribution. Okay, so what the hell does this have to do with running counters? Well, let's say I'm making an armored NPC, Galahad the Shield. He wears plate mail, carries a shield, and has an item casting Shield of Faith. Now in D&D, they use d20s and add numbers to the dice roll. It's a flat chance with each side 5%. Our armored NPC has 22 armor class, 18 for plate mail, 2 for shield, 2 for Shield of Faith. The players have to roll 22 or higher to hit them. If we have a level 2 character, they'll have +2 to their proficiency and probably a +3 to hit for a total of 5. So we know there is a flat distribution for the d20 roll, and with the +5, they can roll anywhere between 6 and 25. So we can work out the percentage chance to hit by working out what the player needs to roll and then adding 5% for each additional number. So players need to roll 17 to get a 22. They could also roll an 18, a 19, or 20. So if we add them up, we start with 5% for 17, add another 5% for 18, another for 19, and another for 20. The total being 20% likelihood. So math-wise, if we give an enemy 22 AC, our level 2 characters will hit 20% of the time, or 1 in every 5 attacks.
Now, as a GM, it's worth asking yourself, is that what you're going for? Missing in D&D, and really any role-playing game, tends to suck as you end up not doing anything with your turn. It might be better to add methods for players to reduce the AC or increase their chance to hit. For example, attacking the thing casting Shield of Faith, perhaps destroying or disarming the shield, or perhaps a spell like Bless. If you're unaware, Bless adds 1d4 to dice rolls. I'll get into math of that in a second. Taking away the Shield of Faith spell, a level 2 character's hit chance goes up to 30%. Remember, adding 5% for each point, we lowered the AC by 2, giving them 2 extra numbers they could roll. 2 numbers, 5% each, that's 10%. If our shield was removed, we have another 10% for a total of 40% chance to hit. Bless is a little bit more complicated due to being a curved distribution. Remember, we're adding 2 dice, a d20 and a d4, but basically it adds between 1 and 4 on attack rolls. If the player needs to get an 18, Bless would increase the chance from 40 to 52%. A good shorthand to remember for advantage is that rolling 2d20s and taking the highest is mathematically the same as adding 5 to the roll, basically increasing the chance by 25%. So if we add advantage, Bless, remove Shield of Faith and remove the shield, our players now have a 77% chance to hit, or roughly 7 out of every 9 attacks will hit. Now we have an encounter that uses math to make it more interesting. Let's turn the math into an encounter. The door swings open. The musty air of the church, long abandoned, is stagnant. The red carpet, mouldy and faded, the pews pushed against the walls. The ancient Knight of Death, Galahad of the Black Shield, clad in obsidian armor, turns from the altar, red pricks of light peering from under his helm towards the party. Behind the knight, upon the altar, a chalice glows in sickly green light, a stream of which flows through the air and encases the knight in magic protection. The knight picks up his shield, tightening an old leather strap across his arm, and draws his longsword. So once the fight starts, the players will learn quickly that he is very hard to hit. There are a few options open to them. First, they can try to improve their chance to hit with things like Bless, gaining advantage on attacks, or using spells that do guaranteed damage. Next, and more in line with how we have built the encounter, they could destroy the chalice, or perhaps simply move it more than 30 feet away. For example, they could throw it out a window. If they didn't pick up on that, you could describe any roll that misses by 1 or 2 as being deflected by the magic of the chalice. Lastly, they could attempt to take the knight's shield. I'd go for a straight athletics check, say an 18 athletics. If we want to work out the chance of this, your strongest level 2 character is probably going to have a +5 to athletics. A barbarian that is ranging gets advantage, so math-wise, add another +5. The likelihood of this success? Well, with no bonus, the player would need to roll an 18, 19, or 20, which we know is 15%. Add another 25% for the +5 to athletics. Add another 25% for advantage. The total is 65% chance to rip the shield off the knight's arm. That's pretty good. May not work on the first attempt, but a second or third will probably succeed. But now we have an encounter that uses math to make it more engaging and challenging, using math for good. Using the methods we've discussed, you can also work out the total amount of damage your players are likely to do. Now there is going to be a bunch of math here, and like all percentages and chance, there is a chance something different happens. That said, the more rolls, the more towards the average result will go. So let's say we have a party of 4 at level 2, a monk, paladin, wizard, and rogue. Our monk has +5 to hit, does 1d6 + 3 damage, and gets 2 attacks a round because of the bonus action unarmed attack. The paladin has a +4 to hit, 1d8 + 2 damage, and 1 attack a round. The wizard has +5 to hit, doing 1d10 damage, 1 attack, but also has 3 level 2 spells. Let's say they do 3d8 damage with a +5 to hit. The rogue has a +5 to hit, does 1d6 + 3 damage, plus 1d6 sneak attack. For our monster, let's pick an AC of 16 and 142 hit points. So, first let's work out the likelihood that our players will hit. To get 16, the players will need to roll an 11 with their +5. So 5% for each number is a total of 50%. So for our paladin, which is 1 less, and 45%. It is common for paladins to have less in strength than other fighters due to needing charisma and constitution. Now if we work out the damage for each roll, they are flat, but over several turns we can average it out. So 1d6 averages to 3.5, 2d6 is 7, a d8 is 4.5, 3d8 is 13.5, and a d10 is 5.5. So, our average damages are a monk dealing 13 damage with 50% likelihood to hit, a paladin doing 7.5 with 45% chance of hitting, a wizard with 5.5 with a 50% chance of hitting, or 13.5 also with 50%, a rogue is 10 with 50% chance. To work out the average damage over time, we multiply the percentage to hit with the damage. This gives us this table. It's a bit hard to see, but basically the party does 21.6 damage on average each turn. This is while the wizard is casting Chromatic Orb, which does 3d8 damage. And then this goes down to 17.6 once the wizard's spell slots run out. On the 8th turn, the party will reach 142 damage. Now, in reality, there are some other variables. There's the Paladin Smite, bad or good dice rolls, critical hits, party members healing or using items, and so on. I would expect 6 or 7 rounds. If you swap the Paladin for a Raging Barbarian attacking recklessly, a lot changes. With a Great Axe, the damage average is 6.5, plus Strength and Rage bonus for a total of plus 5 damage, for a total of 11.5. A 50% hit chance, but Reckless gives advantage, so we add plus 5 or 25% for 75% chance of hitting. This gives us an average damage per round of 8.6, replacing the Paladin's 3.38. The fight now ends on the 6th turn, 2 turns earlier. This is what makes running D&D by the numbers hard. Party composition changes the fight a lot. A party of 4 barbarians could take out an enemy by the end of the 5th turn, unless they need healing. So, we've talked about how to determine how likely creatures are to succeed on their dice roll, including hit or miss on their attacks, how to work out the average damage, and how to work out how many rounds of HP your monster is likely to last for. By understanding the math behind the dice, we better design monsters and encounters. So let's go back to our initial scenario. The monk's player rolls the dice, 11. They remove the dragon's protection from the relic, but with a plus 5, it's still not enough to get to the dragon's 18 AC. Oh, advantage! Guiding bolt! Spurts one of the players. The monk rolls again, a 15, for a total of 20. The monk's player rolls the damage, strikes the final blow, defeats the dragon. This wraps up this episode of GMspiration. Thanks for listening, and remember to have fun.